If you are looking at figuring out where you would like to get started investing between ETFs versus mutual funds, this video is going to help you out by going through a comparison between the two, similarities and differences between ETFs, which are exchange-traded funds, and mutual funds. So if you're excited for today's video or just curious to know about the similarities and differences, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, turn on those bell notifications for all future uploads. And feel free, of course, as always, to check out the memberships on Fridge Financial's YouTube, as we always will say, because there's a lot of top quality content provided to you for just a couple of dollars a month here. But we're going to get into it here. We're going to look at a couple examples. We are on Vanguard right now. Vanguard is one of those major brokerages that offers a bunch of mutual funds, a bunch of ETFs. Unlike Robinhood or Webull, for example, Robinhood or Webull don't offer mutual funds. They offer ETFs. Okay, so if you want to look at getting into a mutual fund, you would get that through Fidelity. You get it through Vanguard. Whereas if you want to just do ETFs, you'd be looking at Robinhood or Webull. But Vanguard also has ETFs as well, obviously. But if you want mutual funds, you would have to go through Vanguard, Fidelity, those kind of accounts, not Robinhood or Webull. So you may be surprised by how similar ETFs, which again are exchange-traded funds, and mutual funds are. Just a few key differences set them apart. And when I started investing, I honestly didn't know the difference between a mutual fund and an ETF. I really wasn't sure. And people always say, Fridge, I want to get into the investing game. Where do you start? Where do you recommend I start? Not financial advice, but where should I start? And my advice always is start by building up ETFs. You know, SPY is a ETF around the S&P 500. You put money into that. You get the top 500 companies invested for you, basically. And it's a very, very nice thing to kind of get going here. A lot less stress, a lot less, watching of the charts every single day, for example. I always start by saying start off with SPY ETF and then kind of work your way from there. But we'll get into the differences and the similarities between these two here. The biggest similarity between ETFs and mutual funds is they both represent professionally managed collections or baskets of individual stocks or bonds, basically creating what we call diversification, right? Now, diversification basically means you're not having all your money into one stock, for example. You're not going full port into NVIDIA, you're not full porting into Google, you're not full porting into Dogecoin. You're just hoping that you're going to make, 6 extra money and then call it a day and be able to retire. You want to have diversification in your portfolio so you're not having all your eggs into one basket. All right. So having baskets like mutual funds and ETFs have are crucial because they provide that diversification, which you want. Now, keep this in mind, though, also, it is possible for you to be overly diversified or to be spread too thin. It's one thing to not be spread out enough. It's another thing to be spread way, 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 way too thin because that also limits your upside potential. So diversification, there are actually two extremes. Not diversified and then overly diversified. That is huge. And there's a big difference for people to understand that there is actually two sides to it here. All right. Anyways, going back into what they have in common here. So ETFs, mutual funds, spread your investments across a broad range of asset classes, sectors, and geographies to bring you built-in diversification. Again, making sure that you lower your chances of losing money on your investments, which is, again, the major part of diversification is to lower your chances of losing money. Now, again, if you're overly diversified, then you are limiting your chances of making a lot of money because you have your money in way too many spots at once, right? And way too many different stocks, way too many different, sectors. If your money's all over the place and you have way too many shares of way too many different companies, that could be a problem as well. I think usually they say and this is not like this take it with a grain of salt, obviously, but people say 20 to 30 usually is like a pretty good basket to look at. But that's obviously, to each their own, of course. Some people might have 50 stocks and be doing very, very well. Some people might have 5 stocks and be doing very, very well. But some people have said the rule of thumb is like 20 to 30. I don't know how much that applies these days, but it's something to kind of consider. Here's how it works. One fund could include tens, hundreds, or even thousands of individual stocks or bonds to help reduce the impact of a single security's poor performance. For example, if one stock or bond in the fund is doing poorly, there's a chance that another is doing well. So, if you have, a tech stock doing very, very well, you might have consumer staples doing poorly or vice versa. So they kind of balance each other out in that kind of aspect where you don't lose as much money. This strategy can help stabilize a portfolio by potentially offsetting losses in one area with gains in another. Very, very good to know. Additionally, ETFs and mutual funds often have professional managers who actively monitor and adjust the portfolio to minimize risk and maximize returns. And that is very, very good to have as well, is that you're not the one managing it. You just put the money in and they're going to manage it for you. It's great. You're just saying, hey, can you manage my $10,000? And they'll go manage it for you in this ETF. They'll readjust, they'll balance, they'll do whatever it is they got to do to make their portfolio do very, very well. This professional oversight can further reduce risk by ensuring the portfolio is aligned with the investment objectives and is adjusted appropriately in response to market conditions. So both mutual funds and ETFs both offer this, okay, which is very, very good. Now, going into a little bit more of, the similarities that we offer here. And again, there are some differences between ETFs and mutual funds, okay? So ETFs and mutual funds both give you access to a wide variety of U.S. and international stocks and bonds. The funds either track a benchmark like the S&P 500 or an actively managed, and you can invest broadly. So you can get into the total market fund, for example, which goes basically into everything from the U.S. to international. You could focus on just a sector, for example. They offer more than 80 ETFs and 250 mutual funds. There are funds for every kind of investor. There's exchange-traded funds, mutual funds. They got it all for you, right? So that's very, very good. And again, both are overseen by professional portfolio managers. So again, if you're like, Fridge, I'm not a financial expert, I don't know how to start it. These people have people that work behind the scenes that balance and manage it for you, which is very, very nice. So ETFs and mutual funds are managed by experts. Those experts choose to monitor the stocks or bonds the fund invests in, saving you time and effort. Although most ETFs and many mutual funds are index funds, the portfolio managers are still there to make sure the funds don't stray from their target indexes. The manager of an index fund is responsible for managing a fund that tracks a specific index, aka S&P 500, for example, or the NASDAQ. Those are your indices. The Dow Jones is your third indice usually. You can do the Russell 2000. That's another indice. The rule is to help maintain the fund's alignment with the index, so try to make sure it lines up with like the S&P 500, essentially, for example. The manager of an actively managed fund uses their expertise to try to beat the market, or more specifically, to beat the fund's benchmark, which is very, very nice. And you'll say a financial advisor provides tailored advice taking into consideration your goals, aka not Fridge Financials, not a financial advisor, as I always write up there every single video. Not a financial advisor. These guys have that. I do not. Okay, I am not that. All right. Both are commission-free at Vanguard. All the ETFs and Vanguard mutual funds can be bought and sold online commission-free in your Vanguard brokerage account. They used to charge for stocks, like way back when. Would be like, hey, it's going to cost you, 10 cents for every share you buy or whatever the case is. There's always like a fee associated. Now there's commission-free, which is very, very nice. Now, options is different, though. Options do have fees associated, but with buying shares, you do not, okay? Now, what are the differences? Okay, now this is very, very key here. The minimum investment is one huge difference here, okay? If you prefer lower investment minimums, an ETF might be suitable for you. You can buy a Vanguard ETF for as little as $1. You can put $1 into an ETF and get your investment journey started here, okay? Whereas with mutual funds, as you will see, they could have something like a $3,000 minimum, okay? And that would buy you 30 shares of a hypothetical fund with a net asset value of $100 per share. That's where the $3,000 comes into play. But most of these funds have a minimum fee. It could be $3,000. It could be a lot more than that, depending on what you want to get into. So if you are starting off investing and you're like, Fridge, I have $1,000 to my name, what should I do with it? You can't even get into mutual funds. Majority of them. Maybe a couple of them you might be able to, but majority of those S&P 500 ones, total market funds, those you can't get into because you need $3,000. But ETFs, you definitely can. The ETFs, you definitely can because those are only going to cost you $1. You could buy $1,000 worth, and you can buy fractional shares and everything else. So that is a huge difference. If you don't have $3,000 to start off with, a couple $100, put it into S&P 500 ETFs, put it into NASDAQ ETFs, put it into whatever kind of dividend ETF you want, for example. So ETFs gives you a little bit of an easier entrance for it because it's a lot lower of a amount. You could put in $1, and that's it. And you get in. You buy fractional shares on Robinhood for ETFs. Again, mutual funds, you have a fee. That is big. How they are traded. Now, this is also very important. ETFs are traded throughout the day. Okay, so you could buy and sell ETFs, S&P. You could buy and sell SPY. You could buy and sell QQQ. You could buy options, all that kind of stuff there. You get real-time pricing, the ability to execute trades quickly. The price you pay or receive can change based on exactly when you place the order. ETFs not only provide a real-time pricing, but also let you set more sophisticated order types that control you over time. So you can set, like, if it goes to $500, I'll buy up shares. If it goes to $490, I'll buy up more shares. You can set more orders in that way. Or you can just do market orders if you want to, which definitely makes it easier. Mutual funds are priced at the end of the trading day and bought or sold based on their NAV, which is calculated after the market closes around 4 p.m. Eastern time. Basically saying that, like, your purchases and your orders go through at the end of the market day, whatever day you want to buy into. Regardless of what time of day you place your order, you will get the same price as everyone else who bought and sold that day before market close. And that price is calculated through different things they do for calculations there, of course. Now, some people might say, like, oh, but, like, I don't like that because, what if I want to buy in the morning? I got to wait till the end of the day, and what if it rallies up and stuff like that? And it's like, I get that. But there's also a good counter argument to why mutual fund could be better here. And it's that the risk and the anxiety that comes with ETFs and trading is a lot more than with mutual funds. You can't panic sell mutual funds. You can't be like, oh, the market dropped at 10 o'clock in the morning. I want to panic sell, panic sell, panic sell, panic sell. You can't do that. It won't go through until after markets close anyways. So it actually takes away a lot of the anxiety and the extra stress you may have. Whereas ETFs, you could trade intraday. The price changes in real time. Mutual funds, the prices don't change till the very, very end of the day. So you don't get to see that. You don't have to watch it as much. So it's actually not a bad system to have. If you're somebody who might have that kind of panic and that fear and that FOMO or whatever you want to call it, mutual funds aren't bad because you don't see that. It's not like it trades every second of the day. You'll see the price at market open, and you'll see the price at market close, and that's it. Nothing else. Now, can you make recurring investments? You can set up recurring investments for Vanguard ETFs, which is good. And you can also do the same thing with mutual funds as well. So that's very, very nice to know. Apparently, and I don't really know much about this, I'm not a tax expert here, but there are more tax benefits when it comes to mutual funds compared to ETFs. All right. So because index mutual funds and ETFs generally trade less frequently, they tend to be more tax efficient and have lower expense ratios than actively managed funds, which can mean lower costs for you. Compare index funds, active managed funds, When it comes to ETF tax efficiency, those funds may have an additional tax benefit because of the way you trade. When ETF shares are sold, they're exchanged between buyers and sellers in the market as opposed to the fund company. This means that the fund itself usually isn't involved in the transaction and doesn't have to sell any securities, potentially triggering capital gains. So again, there's definitely different tax benefits for mutual funds compared to ETFs from what I've heard. I'm not a tax expert. I would look more into that yourself, but that is something to kind of think about as we know. And again, if you're saying, like, which one's better for you, so this right here is an example of Vanguard's total stock market ETF. As you will see, it has an expense ratio of 0.03% because there is an active manager on the other side of this here. You got to pay the guy 0.03%. The average expense ratio for similar funds is 0.73. So Vanguard does a pretty good job of keeping the expense ratios very, very low. You can see basically all the data you're looking at here, the closing price, the highs, the lows, the volume, the returns. You can see what you're investing into. This one has 3,511 stocks, which is a lot of stocks to look at. Here's the benchmarks to look at, for example. Total net assets, $2.1 trillion are in this fund itself, which is really, really good. It means a lot of people are behind this fund here, for example. And you can see also the breakdown as well. Your top tickers are NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Broadcom, Meta, Google, Tesla, and Eli Lilly, for example. And that's an ETF for it. Now, what you will notice the differences here compared to your mutual fund is this is the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. Okay, this is the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, but it's not an ETF. This is actually your mutual fund. And as you will see, the difference is the expense ratio is a tiny bit higher, 0.04%, and you also need $3,000 as a minimum investment here. That is a huge difference. But this right here has the exact same kind of weight and the exact same kind of returns and the exact same amount of stocks basically being held there. These numbers are basically much the same. Look at that fund total assets, the exact same thing. $2.1 trillion is there, right? The returns, the number of stocks you have. You can look at, again, NVIDIA, Apple. These are all the exact same companies here, the exact same ones. They don't tell you what the percentages are here, which is different, but it's the exact same companies. NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's the exact same thing. The only real difference, obviously, is that you have to have $3,000 to get into it. So they have things for everybody. You go onto Vanguard's websites and you go onto their ETFs and you'll see like all their ETFs, all their mutual funds. There's things for everything here for you. VTI is traded on Robinhood and Webull. VOO, same thing, but VTSAX, one of the most popular ones, is not. It is a Vanguard-based fund, so that's what you'd be getting it through. Fidelity has their own funds as well. And again, you can get into, ETFs on Robinhood and Webull if you want to. So that is basically a big difference there. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you learned something new about the difference between a mutual fund and an ETF. It's interesting to think about. There's a lot of similarities and a little bit of differences, but there are some key differences in ETFs versus mutual funds. So keep that in mind when you start your investing journey. Thank you so much for watching. If you made this part of the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications as per usual for all future uploads. Hope you're making money in the market in some way, shape, or form. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next video.